We got to see if they. It's all very interesting to see Verizon.
State championships this week.
What they've got there for AT&T only works for about 4 months. Don't really do much.
Do you want to bring a chair up and I'll, or you want to steal this chair and I'll scoot just a tad? Are you okay if I sit right here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
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 Hi. Oh, you know what? I got,
So Julie,
Yeah.
The 14K money
Yeah,
and the winter structure, should I do them right at the beginning?
no, it's, the 14K is just an FYI that we've gotten all the money in that, makes up the CARES Act.
How much have we spent?
Every other. Well, it's not.
$2020. Let's see, we have to approve the minutes, the September 22nd meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 22nd meeting.
I will second.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
You have to call by name.
no opposed. Okay, then we have to approve the, are there minutes of the emergency meeting?
Yes, they're
Okay.
right in there.
It was just the one item to appoint a member to the ZBA. Like to approve that now.
And I'll make a motion to approve those because I believe John wasn't there, so I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I will second that motion.
That was the fastest meeting ever. All in favor? I forgot
Aye.
the length of the meeting.
So those are approved. John,
I
I'm
was
sorry
staying.
you couldn't be there.
I abstain then if I couldn't be there, so.
If I could just, before we start the meeting, I have a lot of people on the call and I appreciate you all staying on mute. If you do want to say anything, you can chat on the Zoom call, or I prefer that versus raising your hand because then I can see that and we can try to recognize you if we need to, or if it's appropriate. So thanks for being on the call. Thanks, Dick.
Thank you. So the next items are for the selectmen's discussion or motions. I'm going to deal with the people that are in the room right now. And Jay, you're here for the fire station feasibility study? No, Jerry.
So our committee met last week for the first time in a while, and understanding that you folks put a hold on spending throughout the year, so we've never really got a jump start on anything. Totally kind of put the brakes on it. We weren't able to meet, and so we're at where we're at with it. And we were hoping to actually look into contracting with an architect to get the ball rolling on this. The idea being hopefully to kind of find a spot for the future fire station and the relative design of the future fire station, so that by March or hopefully by February, for budgeting purposes, really, we'd be able to come up with a number that we would need for further exploring the feasibility of the fire station. So we're really just wondering how the selectmen feel about spending the $25,000 that's appropriate last March to do this, and it's something that we can continue with, or if you're opposed to spending the money also. For your basic question. Again, we'll meet next Tuesday to kind of decide how we're going to proceed, depending upon what your decision on it might be. So we're hoping, really just kind of instigating the discussion for the selectmen to decide what we want to do.
We're still looking at both options.
Thanks for asking that, because I did mean to mention that as well. So at the last meeting, we kind of determined as a committee that we would recommend to you that we would not explore any further the renovation of the existing fire station, mostly because the cost for doing so would be so high that it wouldn't be worth doing. We had originally, years ago, looked at a number of about $450,000 for renovating it. Since then, we've heard numbers that would far exceed that. Jay did explore a little bit with an engineering firm that said they would want $20,000 just to look at the building to decide how much it would cost just to renovate. And we felt as a committee that that would be money that would not be well spent. We pretty much know the answer. The answer is going to be just to renovate the existing building. And renovating, we'd be looking at, and this is what the committee decided, that there's no sense in just band-aiding the existing building, because that doesn't do anything for us. We're looking to have a building that is ADA compliant, meets all of the needs of a modern fire station, and meets all of the codes that would exist, and to have a sprinkler in place in the building. And we know that the cost for that is going to be outrageously high. I mean, it's going to cost somewhere about $750,000, probably closer to $1 million or more, just to renovate the existing building. And that when you weigh that against the mill rate or the tax rate, you're spending is what are you raising the mill rate by $1 per thousand for 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, or 30 years? And what do you get for that, for doing that? It's kind of the way we're looking at it. And from that standpoint, we thought it's not feasible to put more money into that building as it exists. If we're trying to renovate it to a standpoint that it's a modern building that meets modern codes and is usable as a modern building. So we were going to recommend the selectmen that we not further look into renovating that existing building or spending money on that. So we really like to put our efforts into designing and placing the future fire station.
Well, I think to have, intelligent conversation about it, we need that input. See how we make the next step without engaging an engineer or an architect or both to let us know what we can do.
I agree. I'm on the committee as well, so I've been, involved in the public meeting that we had last week, but I think that it's prudent to move forward with this study and get what we need to present to the town meeting. If we don't, we're going to be looking at a whole another year, and we do have the funds appropriated, and I'm pretty proud to say that we've been very frugal and careful during the past 6 to 9 months at spending any money. So I'd like to move forward with it, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, good financially wise in terms of taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that we're gonna have a much bigger fund balance to use towards, reducing taxes this year because we've been very limited on spending. And we've gotten some reimbursement money that was unanticipated.
Right.
Okay, shall we take a vote on moving ahead with an architectural study for potential new fire building?
So I think that, if your consensus that it's okay to continue with it and to start spending that money, I think we plan to meet this coming Tuesday next week to come up with a plan on how to move forward.
Mhm.
And I think that, at the end of that meeting, we have a recommendation back to you for the following Tuesday. So you meet then as to how we want to move forward with it.
Right.
Would be the plan, I believe. So I mean, I think we're just looking for, if you have a consensus that you'd like to move forward with it and aren't opposed to spending any of that money, then we'll meet again Tuesday, come up with a plan on how we want to proceed, and present that back to you for the following Tuesday so you can approve it.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
That's good.
Excellent. So we'll forward with the plan meeting for next
Yep.
Tuesday.
I will set that up.
Go from there. Thanks, folks.
And it'll be a public meeting again, so it will be posted, and it'll be a Zoom meeting, but also at the fire station, which worked out very well, I thought. So good. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doc. See you later.
You're here.
I know.
Why don't have you speak?
Okay. I know down here on the agenda that I'm, on to talk about the mask policy and the update of the emergency operations plan. I've been in touch with Barbara regarding the mask policy, and I guess I don't have anything more to share on that.
Right.
My understanding was that you were gonna be working on that.
Yeah, and I mean, we came up with that new sort of revised policy that I had used from other companies that I've been working with.
Okay.
And it uses the New York Times website as their recommendation to follow where the hot spots are, as they call them, because they change based on fluctuation of population and cases, of course. And then making sure that people adhere to the policies that the town puts into place as far as wearing masks and getting tested, reporting if you've traveled outside of, or not traveled to any of the hotspots and come back.
This was just, I left that on there because last time you guys had adopted the Primex kind of checklist. And so my question is, did you want to actually implement that new document as a policy?
I think it's a sound policy.
So I guess I was never quite, what is that document? Was it just the screening form?
The Primex one?
Yeah, I still haven't received that.
Oh, okay, so basically it just asks questions,
It's a
you know,
question.
it's quite, yeah, it's a self-screening or employee, that employees will have. And
Okay.
if- and if they have any of these symptoms, if they don't feel well, or if they have a fever, or if they have a cold, or if they travel out of state, then they'll submit that and then they won't come into work.
Okay, so the policy then is employees would go to that.
That, they adopted, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but at
Yeah.
that meeting, it was that Primex policy that was adopted, nothing else at this point.
Okay, that's what
Yeah, and then we amend or added to that with the document that I had sent about following the sort of what the hotspots were. So if you did travel outside to those areas to
Right.
follow that protocol.
So you want to adopt the further clarification for travel?
That would be my recommendation.
So you've adopted it, but it's not in place yet. Nobody has these.
Correct. Yeah, it's not adopted yet. It would be my
But there's
recommendation
nothing
to
written
adopt
down
them.
now.
Hmm?
I mean, I guess in my mind, I just kind of picture this policy that.
Well, so far, the only thing that I have done is I have adapted the Primex checklist to a Jackson document to be distributed to employees if they need
Okay.
to fill this out. That's as far as it's gone. So if you want me, if you guys adopt this further clarification, I can then incorporate that into a policy to distribute to the employees.
I guess that's what I envisioned, but saying in terms of, and so that, and then that would be that.
And then that would be that.
Okay.
I believe that the library is already implementing that with their people.
So that was, yeah, I mean, I was gonna also touch base on that. I did hear from Lycan today.
She's actually on the call as well.
Oh, she is, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So she can speak to that.
Hold on. Lycan, would you like to unmute and comment?
I actually can't really hear. It's very garbled. So I know that you're talking about a policy about what staff should do. Is that right?
I have to interpret this.
Yeah.
You know what though, thinking since we're sort of, I'm gonna mute you again, I think she's trying to call in again. Hold on, sorry. Okay. Why don't you and I talk after this meeting? We'll put it on the agenda again, because I thought we were okay with what we had sent out to be added to the policy, but if it's not clear, then
Okay.
we'll resend it as one document with the questionnaire from Primex. The documentation that I sent, put it into a policy, one policy that says what we're trying to do and adopt it or not.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry if I missed an email.
No worries,
Okay,
Okay.
because we don't get any emails these days.
I know. A couple other folders.
Okay,
And then, yeah, I'm realizing people probably can't hear me too well. But anyway, so I did an update of the emergency operations plan. It was essentially just looking at a number of different staff positions that have changed, contacts for, APD resources, things like that, and, they got information to the Julie.
yeah, it's actually in Dick's folder to sign as we speak.
Oh, right, perfect. So,
That's right, I went out of,
Yeah, it's I. It should be the second, there are two I's. Should be the second one.
and then I can speak to a couple other things.
Emily, when that's signed, you want me to just scan it back to you and to, type?
That would be great. Yeah, just keep a copy with the European method.
Yeah. Next year. this year and next year.
I think it's 20. I'd have to look at that,
Way ahead of schedule.
yeah. But it was good to go for that. So should I share a couple other things?
Sure.
Let's get
Should we go
questions.
ahead and sign this?
Yeah. No, time, but
Okay,
you just need to sign.
Yeah, you could probably make a motion to adopt that updated policy.
This policy that
Well,
was,
that's-
It's not a
Yeah, it's
policy.
not
It's
a
not a
policy, it's just,
Or the
The
updated,
updates to the EOP.
I will make a motion to adopt the updates to the EOP.
I'll second.
the plan, not the policy.
Yeah,
Plan.
Plan.
policy was manual. Yeah.
Thank you.
and Barbara, you're going to speak with me about the ongoing travel.
Yes, and then I'll work with Julie. We'll get one final total policy put together and disseminate it and
Okay.
go over it for the next meeting.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then Kevin and I attended a webinar that the state had put on just in regards to Halloween celebrations and recommendations for towns through the New Hampshire Municipal Association. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never, Jess has never served the free when trick or treating is or anything like that. I think the one event we were concerned of in town was the Chambers East Street, but they're not doing that this year. But I do have just a kind of a little update to put into meetings that I'll share with Julie. And they also, the state put together just sort of a safety guide for the treating basically for the general public. So I share with the school and that I don't know what the
I'll make a motion to eat all the Halloween candy myself.
There you go.
Ready?
We know one comes, so you can eat it all.
That's-
So the, and then just some other information regarding, masks, PPE, supplies. Apparently the state is got a pretty big stockpile right now, 3-4 months worth, whatever, 3-4 months worth. Based on, but if there is any need from any of the different departments, for additional masks or anything, let me know, and I can put those orders in, or continue to communicate with, Karen and Roy in terms of the election, but.
Great.
For that, and the work that we've been doing regarding improving the cell coverage of the kingdom, or maybe they will talk a little bit.
So we received 4 demo phones from AT&T, which is the first net. Everybody's heard of the first net thing that government give you tons of money to try to improve communication for first responders. So Emily worked out when we were at that meeting. So finally got some demo phones that are AT&T service instead of Verizon. Most people have Verizon. I got them yesterday. So we're trying them. So far, Nathan has one, I've got one. Kevin's got one, and there'll be one in the fire truck. See what happens so far. I don't think there's gonna be much difference. You may find it work one place and not work somewhere else, so I don't think there's a lot of difference. But we'll see, get them for a few weeks. Try out.
Well, try to, get around, try them at different places.
Nathan did say the hollows in Dundee.
Yeah.
The 2 hollows, it does work better there. But you go somewhere else, and it doesn't, my Verizon, like, I think here was 3 bars and AT&T was 1 bar, so it's, I don't think it's gonna be a huge difference.
So Forum Fire, they're doing the same thing, they've got 4 phones, and they've been working. So right now, the state is pretty much tied with this contract with AT&T. So we're looking at, if there's any way that Verizon might be able to do something about that. But that's gonna be separate.
I did, one thing I did find out is if you have Verizon and you're a first responder, you can apply for first responder connectivity, just like AT&T is doing.
Oh,
So I went through the process last week. It was a little bit of a process, but I think they finally approved me. So if there was a massive 9/11 thing again, and I get on the phone, I should get booted ahead of everybody else using the phone. So Verizon is offering some similar stuff.
yeah, so
So,
there's that. Wow.
so
Nice.
the problem I got with AT&T is if you have an issue or a problem, you gotta go to Portsmouth for.
Right.
You go to Conway, you can go to Berlin for a Verizon store or whatever.
That's one of Meredith too.
So,
So, yeah, and then, so there's that, and then, we've just been working with, Jay, just kind of being aware, we put together this additional, information just before the rainstorm started about, down on fires outside. We are still in a severe drought, alert. Well, this is certainly helping.
yeah, it's sure it's helping a little bit, but the ground is, with all that rain we got, the ground is still horribly dry. Nothing sinking in. And I assume all the selectmen got the email on the fireworks ban,
Mhm.
temporary fireworks ban. Temporary.
And then just back on COVID, I think everyone's aware that Kenneth High School did have a case, so, we just continue to kind of monitor the trends of everyone. But I guess I'll have like a. That's it, and I can speak about Jackson Falls, but later. Maybe my Jackson Falls.
Thank you. Any questions?
Nope. Yeah. Thank you very much, Emma.
Is there anything else on the agenda you need from me, you think, or? Yeah, that's something you need, or want me to say?
I don't see it. We talked about pedestrian traffic on.
Yeah, it was just an experience I had, like, you know, about.
Right, yeah. So, no, I don't see, I think we can cut out.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
See you later, thanks.
It's still not who he was. We'll go back to, we'll go back to the beginning.
Yay.
Back to the future.
Well, I wanted to thin out the crowd. We should deal with the Benish driveway permit. They've asked us to consider granting approval for that. But why don't you speak to it?
So I basically wanted to know if, and I spoke to legal counsel on whether or not the selectmen have the authority to approve the driveway permit if there's a legal issue. And what my inclination is to do, this would be my recommendation, is to put this on hold until the court decision is made and the legal status of this changes. And then once the decision is reached, it can be presented to the selectmen for approval again. In order for us to approve it, knowing that there is a legal issue would not, in my opinion, be prudent.
A little jeopardy
Yeah,
financially too.
yes. So I'm recommending that we do not approve it until we're informed that legal decisions have been resolved outside of this, and then it can be represented to us.
And I think there are two people.
And I was going to say that Frank Benesh is on the phone, and also Laura Dodge, who represents the attorney representing the other side of the party. So if we want to hear from one or
Sure.
both, do we care who we want to talk to first? Frank, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and I'll let you go ahead first.
Well, again, thank you, Barbara. Well, first, I'm unaware of a court issue or lawsuit at this point, so I guess I defer to Laura to bring us up to date on that. I don't have anything to add other than what was in my letter to you.
Okay. And Laura, would you like to speak then?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Laura Dodge. I'm an attorney with McLean Middleton in Manchester, New Hampshire. I represent the three abutters on Beach Hill Road, Mr. and Mrs. Scotch, Mr. and Mrs. Luckowitz, and Mr. Bridge. There is not a current pending lawsuit. These abutters had retained our office to look into the validity of the easement, the driveway easement deed, and also look at the approved subdivision from 1982, which shows the approved plan designating the proposed area where the driveway is proposed to be constructed in open space. So there's some question about whether the parties that entered into the easement agreement had the authority to do so, and whether a driveway could be constructed in dedicated open space, which has already been approved by the planning board. And I understand this matter has gone back and forth. The select board originally had it, and then it was referred over to the planning board, which declined, and then referred it back to the select board.
Barbara, could you paraphrase that?
Yeah, it's hard for me to hear that.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering then, Laura, is there still a legal issue that is preventing the abutters from agreeing that the Beneshes should be able to build the driveway?
Yes. And I apologize if you, I hope you can hear me okay. My audio is not great, so I apologize if you couldn't hear me. There is not an active pending lawsuit, but we're in the process of investigating and researching the title. Our position is that the proposed area where the driveway would be constructed in the burden parcel is the designated as dedicated open space of Ellis River Village Association. And therefore it's restricted, and a driveway constructed in that would be a violation of the open space designation. So until either there's an amendment to the approved subdivision plan that's on record at the registry showing that area as open space, our position is that we could legally challenge the construction of the driveway in that area.
And then is that what you're doing?
We are in that, I guess we're in that process now of seeing how, which board is going to entertain that, and evaluating procedurally what has happened to date and what the next steps would be. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, aside from any, whether it's the select board or the planning board's jurisdiction, I would submit it's the planning board's jurisdiction to address the issue of the approved subdivision plan that designated this as open space. The separate issue of whether the easement agreement for the proposed driveway, the driveway easement deed, is a valid grant from the Ellis River Association to the Beneshas, that would be a private civil matter to address that, which would be with, beyond the board's jurisdiction.
And what's the objection to the easement? Why are you suggesting it's not valid?
If the proper parties if the grantor was the proper party to grant that easement, and then with respect to the driveway permit application, where you suggest that the authority comes from the Ellis River Village Association, the easement itself on its face implies that the parties have to do the driveway by mutual agreement. And so the driveway application permit that was submitted doesn't get into any specifics about the construction of the driveway, its location, and whether mutual agreement had been reached with the grantor of that easement.
I guess I'm not sure what you're even looking for there.
I don't even.
And I mean, you've had this controversy for over a year, if not months, since I filed the permit. I mean, we just sit here and do nothing until.
So I'm going to interrupt you there. I think the three of us selectmen, if I'm gauging the comments behind our masks here, are that we're a little bit confused too, and feel like this needs to be worked out amongst the two of you and make recommendations either to the select board, or if it's appropriate, the planning board. This is going around in circles, and I'm not an attorney, so I guess I'm not following this. We've seen a lot of documentation presented from both sides, and I guess we need to figure out what is the proper documentation that is on file. And if this is a matter between you two parties that need to decide what information is on record and filed and appropriate, and work it out and present it to the selectmen. I guess.
Well, I'm not sure how we can reach agreement on this. I've got my position. I filed for a permit. I mean, if you tell me what you need from me, I'll try to provide it. But I've put together the application and everything I think is required, and I don't understand why it's incomplete. I mean, I understand I have some abutters who have threatened to file a lawsuit and have some as yet any kind of detailed objection that I can respond to. In fact, I've seen nothing that was presented to the selectmen, so I don't even understand what the controversy is. Nor do I understand why the selectmen are, becoming involved in trying to adjudicate these concerns. Especially when legally there's not an active controversy.
So Laura, is that true that the Beneshas have not been provided with anything from your law firm to them?
I just got involved in early August, and I've sent letters to the town.
It's still
Julie Atwell at the town.
Okay, sorry, Laura. Okay, so it's October 13th, so for a couple of months you've been working on this and you sent information to the town. Is that what you just said? I was, sorry, following something else.
Yes, and part of it was really following, it getting punted back and forth between the two boards and trying to understand procedurally where this was going to land and how best to address this. It makes sense to me to bring in the grantor of the easement. I mean, and they're the record owner of the parcel we're talking about. So they certainly, I think, should have a seat at the table because they own the land, and provided, assuming the easement is a valid easement, I think they need to be involved because the location of the driveway has to be done by mutual agreement. And that's a mutual agreement between the grantor and the grantee.
That's already been in place. They have approved the current proposed alignment.
Okay, I'm going to ask Bill Terry, the president of the planning board, is on, and he would like to add some additional information. And then we'll see if we can figure out how to move forward on this.
Yeah, thank you, Barb. I just want to chime in that we did review this at the request. I'm not sure who requested entirely. Frank, you requested the review because of the question from Board of Selectmen referring it back to us. And our review was the fact that the Board of Selectmen referenced an approved plan that was prior to the final approved plan that's on record. And once we referenced the appropriate plans, it appeared that the open space that was available was within the purview of the folks who own the open space to make whatever easement or appropriate thing they do with an open space. We're not a legal organization. We don't determine how that condominium association, what they can and cannot do with their open space. That's up to them and what's involved in their documents. And my assumption is that if they granted an easement, they did that within their right. Again, we're not legal folks, and that's not really what the planning board is responsible for getting involved in. And so we did not refuse to review it. We had nothing to review. And so it didn't belong to us. If there's an issue for someone between the parties, whether there's someone's arguing that they don't have the right to grant the easement, that's certainly not something that the planning board is going to get involved in. And so I'm not sure why we're talking about getting the planning board involved again for something that's already been determined, and it's determined some 38 years ago that was their right to do so. And whatever that right is, I won't argue the right, but they have a right to that property and to make a determination under their bylaws, and whatever those are. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I'm gonna thank you for your input. I'm still not in a position where I feel comfortable that there isn't gonna be legal involvement here in order to approve the driveway permit, but I'm still wondering why nothing has been filed so far from the attorneys. So John and Dick, do you have any?
Well, are we going to get a legal opinion from somebody? Will they send it to the select board is what I'm asking. I mean, that's between the Benishes and the lawyer who's representing the other parties, but
Right.
Will we be appraised of whatever they find?
That's what I would recommend, that we
Yeah.
make sure that the matters outside of this are resolved before we approve the driveway permit. And if there's going to be legal action, I would like to recommend that it would be made sooner rather than later, or resolved sooner rather than later, since this has been going on for at least months. At least months. Is there any opposition to that, Frank or Laura?
Well, again, I've not seen any documentation. I'm not even sure what the controversy is.
Right, so if you two could try to communicate and work this out so we can put this on the agenda for the next meeting and have some communication and resolutions, that would be wonderful.
And
Right.
I'm happy to share copies of what was filed with the town. I did copy I sent 2 letters, one to the town copying the chair of the planning board prior to their meeting on October 13th. And I will send that to Mr. Benish. I mean, our position is that it is properly a matter before the planning board because they would have to address the approved subdivision plan that shows the space as designated open space. And there would have to be some effort to amend that approved subdivision plan.
Okay, if you could send that communication again to all, that would be great.
Okay.
Anything else?
I would
Thank
emphasize that we have information in 2 weeks.
Yes. So we would like the information so we can make a decision in 2 weeks. So that means you two have work to do amongst yourselves. So we can put this back on the agenda and hopefully resolve it.
Just for clarity then, Barbara, what precisely are you looking for me? From me?
At this point, really, I don't think there is anything else that you need to do if you haven't heard from the attorneys. Once you receive information from Laura and her firm, then you'll have to respond to that.
Well, with respect, if I am going to respond, I have to consider whether or not I'm going to retain an attorney.
That's correct.
And they will have to have time to respond to whatever is said. So it may well be optimistic that there can be any kind of anything delivered to you in 2 weeks.
Well, at least it would be some kind of a movement other than documentation flying back and forth with emails. So I would appreciate that and just keep us apprised of what's going on.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you both.
So what we would do now is table this to the next meeting.
Correct. In hopes that we get some resolution and more recommendation on our end.
But I hope we
Look forward to
can
that.
get it resolved.
Agreed. All right. Are we only on B?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That's how far we've progressed.
That's why I brought coffee today.
But just think of all we've listened to.
True.
So we have,
At least be as an FYI.
this is,
That's right.
we've already signed off on this.
Yes.
It's a
Warrant
document.
for the general election.
Mhm.
I have 3 signatures, mine and Barbara's and John's.
Mhm.
It was just a document that the town clerk required.
I'm going to make a quick comment. Ward, Delia, I see you're on the phone and you are interested in the next item, which was moved ahead. And so I will be in touch with you. Ward is a member of one of the architectural firms that has been weighing in on the fire station. So Ward, it has been decided to move forward and we will have the meeting next Tuesday. So I will contact you and the other parties outside of this meeting to set up the next public meeting for the fire station. So thank you for joining us. All right.
D.
All right, now we have Barbara's. The letter. The Jackson Selectmen authorized the transfer of
Oh,
$119,000.
shoot. It's 78,000. I didn't. I only did the.
Oh, it's for 78,000. I'm sorry. Capital. All right, it's for the highway. This is just moving money. Highway truck. Capital Reserve Fund 0048, Article 4, $50,000. Bartlett Jackson Ambulance. Reserve 0070, Article 4, $10,000. Reval Town Property, Capital Reserve 0004, Article 4, $3,000. Solar Energy Capital Reserve Fund 0072. Article 4, $5,000. Transfer Station Expendable Trust Fund 0028. Article 5, $5,000. State Aid for Reconstruction Expendable Trust Fund 0058. Article 5, $5,000. A total of $78,000. How did I do?
Good.
All right, here we go.
You don't have to sign it because I need to correct the top.
We don't have to sign it?
You will when I correct the top.
Okay.
Correct.
But that's one thing out of the way.
Yes,
Okay, then we have,
Do we have to make a motion on those trust funds? Do we move those, or?
Yes.
yes.
oh, I'm sorry. I would love to hear a motion on moving that money.
I would love to give you a motion to move that money.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
78,000. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No?
No.
There it is.
All righty.
All right, then we have withdrawal from the trust funds. Board of Selectmen are requesting the following withdrawals from the trust funds as indicated below. $246.50 from the Transfer Station Expendable Trust Fund 0028 invoice to Civil Solutions. We have their invoice, and they've done some work for us. This is reciting the containers.
I will make a motion to approve that withdrawal.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Save the signing for later.
That one you should be able to sign.
Whatever.
She gets the big ones wrong, not this one.
Yeah, really.
Thanks.
And then we have a request for a sidewalk up Thornhill Road.
And we do have people that would like to speak to that.
Right, we have, I'm not sure how to say the first name.
Micah.
Hey, Micah.
Hi.
Need to hear from Micah first. Dick, would you like to hear from Micah first?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yes,
okay. You were reading,
please
I
go
know.
right ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Micah,
I was
thanks.
going through my program, but
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I live at 17 Thornhill Road, and I've been living here for over 4 years. And I wrote the select board and connected with the Thornhill Inn and the Inn at Jackson to discuss if there's a way to increase the safety of pedestrians on Thornhill Road. And I have two 4-year-olds. I have twin children, and next year they'll start Jackson Grammar School, where I'm a school board member, and they will be walkers to school because we live within a mile of school, and we are frequent walkers as a family and would love for it to be safer, not only for us, but for the increased pedestrian traffic that's on Thornhill because of the inns, as well as people who, there are some other kids who live up on Graustein Lane, and it has become more and more of a thoroughfare as Google Maps routes people sometimes to Jackson up and over Thornhill Road. I wanted to see what might be some ideas. I've talked to Chief Polly about it and would love to bring to the select board of how we might be able to support doing something better that's within a way to better protect our citizens and our visitors, and also considering a crosswalk potential at the bottom of Thornhill Road. So it's two separate pieces.
well, I mean, the sidewalk up Thornhill Road would be a major expense, and it would be something we'd have to take up at a town meeting. I really, I guess if you had enough signatures to put it on the warrant, that we would go ahead with it. I would certainly ask them to try the little guy with the flag that says, you know, children playing or children
Yeah.
walking, it seemed to work on Green Hill Road when there was an issue up there. And I think that it really slows people down. So I would say that the highway department could help with that.
The what department?
The highway department.
The highway department. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I've heard of the Green Hill reference, and actually Chief Pauly and I talked about it. And one of the things that's pretty different with Green Hill and Thornhill is that Thornhill is used as a thoroughfare versus Green Hill is mainly for people who are living up there or going to visit them. And so I understand what you're saying about a sidewalk. What I'm wondering is if there's ways to think of a creative solution, such as taking the road as it is and demarcating one side or the other, because it's kind of a double blind hill. You feel free to come visit and walk up and down both sides and figure out which is better. And you know, if there's a way to do like cross hatching, so to designate, hey, here's where all pedestrians should be on this side, and a way to manage pedestrian traffic without having to do the expense of a sidewalk, because ultimately we can sort of do anything to these roads. So I wonder if there's a solution that isn't as off-putting as something like a sidewalk, though I would not be opposed to that.
A crosswalk, I noticed with today with the pumpkin people,
Yeah.
that, you know, especially in front of the inn at Thornhill, people cross
Absolutely.
regularly. You know, that might be a possibility to paint a crosswalk in there, you know, but like I said, I think building a sidewalk would have to be voted on by the town. You probably need to get signatures to have that done, to bring that up.
Even a crosswalk, you have to be careful, because once you get it in, you have to maintain it. You can't abandon it. So
Is the sidewalk or is the crosswalk proposal across the state road? Because that wouldn't be something that would be coming.
then we'd have to go to DOT
Yeah.
to see.
Right.
And
And
again,
I'm suggesting, sorry, just to be clear, what I was, is so the state road is, yeah, I definitely think about a crosswalk there, and potentially maybe if there was another one, maybe that's a solution. If there's another one higher up between the two sides of the road, that would also demarcate to people who are driving to be more careful, because there's also a crosswalk there. So maybe that could be a solution.
Are there currently lines on Thornhill Road on middle and sides?
None.
Is it the bottom
Lines,
or
like the
parking
center
spot?
line and the sides.
The
No,
parking
there are none.
probably makes it even more difficult.
Yeah.
For walking.
okay, also be mindful of what it's going to be like in the winter.
Mm.
If you're walking to school, once the snowbanks are there, it's a different ballgame. So I would ask you to think about that.
Absolutely. And I think we have kids and families in Jackson that are committed to be hardy residents of this town, and modeling to our children that we can get through those conditions. And we're absolutely mindful of it. And I think we can do it safely. And I think an increase in safety in our town, committed to young families here getting their kids in and out of town, would be fantastic to look at ways to support that.
All right.
So this is, I haven't been to that many select board meetings, so if I could, so I understand what happens at this point. I bring this up, what are other steps that I can take, or does this go under further consideration, or is this for me to, I just would love some input.
Well, this would, like we talked about, there's probably some solutions on how to do, I'm going to call them quick fixes. So probably talking to the road agent and seeing if there are things that we can do to improve the announcement that there are children on the road, there are pedestrians on the road. Look at how much it would cost to maintain and paint a crosswalk, different lines, like you said, demarcations on the road, different signs or cones saying there are children at play or whatever, and seeing what we can do on that basis. And then if you want to pursue a warrant article to build a sidewalk on the road, that would be very different and something that would have to be done through town meeting. And anytime you take and move off of Thornhill Road and talk about Route 16, which is a state road, then it would have to go through the Department of Transportation. So I think making a call to the road agent, Pat Kelly, would probably be a good a good decision and see what kind of recommendations he can make and that he can do.
And is this something that I can ask does the select board move forward on this, or this is back to me as a citizen to look at this and then come back to the select board for approval, or how, or at what point would the select board champion it?
I think
what you said.
who should take this from now? Should it be Micah or should it be us?
Well, I would probably, you gotta get a hold of Pat. I think that
Yeah.
would be the first person to talk to and have a conversation with Pat. That would be her responsibility, make
Yeah,
an appointment with Pat and, see what he can suggest.
Yeah.
And then, whatever suggestions, if they can be implemented, great. If they can't be implemented, then, she might have to do a warrant article, get signatures to put it on the March meeting.
right.
I don't see feasibly how we could build a sidewalk all the way up to
Yeah.
Thorn Hill. To be quite honest, it's pretty heavily ditched on both sides,
Yeah.
and that would be.
And that's not what I'm advocating for.
Yeah, and so Mike, I would call Pat Kelly, our road
Okay.
agent, and see what he can do immediately and what suggestions he has, and maybe some of the things that he's done in the past for other roads, and then if Pat has issues with budgeting or certain needs, then we can talk further.
Great, thank you. That was clear.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
And I'll give Pat a call.
Okay.
Heads
Heads
up.
up.
Heads up on that.
Perfect.
That will be coming in for.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was E, now we're at F.
Like hurricanes.
So Stephen is probably on the line waiting to.
Is
Yes.
Stephen there?
yes. Steve, okay, yep.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Well, we're only on F, but we're doing pretty well.
We're making progress. It's getting there, I guess. So yeah, I was going to talk about the Valley Cross Road Bridge today. And if you don't mind, I was going to share my screen and show the
You
presentation.
know, honestly, you can, but there's only one person that's pretty much staring at it from the select board, and everyone else that is zoomed into the call. So feel free to share.
Okay. So I might actually have some things outside of the presentation that I could share later, so it might work out. But if you ever want me to stop sharing, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can everyone see my screen okay? And can everyone hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, but I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, let me try this. Is that working?
No.
I tried the PowerPoint. It should be.
Same as our handout.
There it is. It's coming up.
There we go. It's a double click.
Handout here.
Yeah, we have the handout in front of us as well, so.
Okay, I apologize. I'm used to using Teams more than Zoom.
No
for
worries.
work. I think they're pretty similar. So, all right. So I'm here today to talk about, like I said, the Valley Cross Road Bridge over Wildcat Brook. And it's really because of the point in the project that we're at. The preliminary design has been done and it's been reviewed by the town and New Hampshire DOT, and they have given us approval to move on to final design. So what I wanted to do at this point was to just really, it's a reiteration of what we had before, just to make sure that the town is comfortable and in agreement with what we're proceeding on before we go all the way into final design. It's a chance for people to voice their opinions again and have any ideas, and also for me to get a little bit more information about the project as we move towards final. So that's where that stands. Oh, it's a little slow. Okay, so you guys have seen my face before and heard my voice a few times on this project, so I figured I'd include other people. My name is Steve Langevin. I'm the project manager for Green Peterson for this project. The other people you see on the slide are Chuck Gregory and Tim Whitney. They are the highway engineers for this project. And then Rob Shepard and Justin Fiala are the other structural engineers working for me on this project. So I get to give you an idea of who's doing this work. A little quick background on the bridge that I'm sure everyone's very familiar with. It's about 70 feet long, 16 feet between the trusses for travelway. The 4-foot cantilevered sidewalk is currently closed due to deterioration of the supports. The deck and beams are steel beams, and then the decking is timber decking with running planks. The historical trusses are essentially the bridge rail for the bridge at this point, and they were built in 1905. Those are low Parker trusses. The support for the trusses and the beams and such are 1931 built cast in place concrete abutments founded on really, really competent bedrock, some of the highest readings I've ever seen. And then the wing walls are stacked stone masonry wing walls, which were taken out during Hurricane Irene back in 2011, I believe. So the reason why we're here in the first place was to remove this bridge from the state's municipal red list. And also, while we're doing that, we wanted to meet the needs of the town of Jackson. This is a very beautiful and popular location in the town of Jackson. The Jackson Falls are very, very scenic. And we tried to keep that in mind when trying to provide a replacement or at least a rehabilitation of this bridge, so that it would be something that is aesthetically appropriate for the surroundings. Also, we listened in the last meetings. Some of the major things were the reduced maintenance that we're looking for. The timber decking required a lot of maintenance. As a matter of fact, I think, what was it, last May, there was some maintenance that was required while we're still working on design for those timber decking boards. And also the stone masonry wing walls, as I pointed out, they were already washed out during major storms. And of course, the plowing of the bridge during snowstorms and such. They wanted a little bit wider openings so the plows could get through. And of course, you can see in the picture, the handrail is nice historic handrail, but it's not quite safe. The openings on the handrail are a bit too large for what is appropriate. And of course, we wanted crash tested bridge rail instead of those historical trusses. So what did we come up with? This is a sketch that the town has seen before. I brought it up last time we had a conversation in the meeting. This is basically a rundown. Is that this is a curved sidewalk bridge. You can see the sidewalk extends out 8 feet at the center point of the bridge, the midpoint, which is about twice the width of the existing sidewalk. The sidewalk is concrete. I know there was some concern about having just a plain concrete sidewalk. So this is where we're starting into some of the questions about what I'm looking for information. Would the town be interested in putting stamped concrete that makes it look like brick or stone or timber? Those are the kind of things I'm looking for. So the bare deck, the concrete is, I should say the deck is bare concrete. So you can have a distinction between the pavement on the approaches and actually where the bridge is located. You can't just drive past it and miss the bridge that way. And it's easy to inspect as well, and it's very low maintenance. The deck is will be supported by new steel beams, and then there's a decision there. Do the beams need to be painted? Do you want a certain color, a brown, a green, or should they be just galvanized, which is a kind of a silvery gray color? The travelway was widened to 18 feet, and it's still one lane of traffic to provide traffic calming for all the pedestrians and tourists in the area during peak seasons, which is probably most of the year. And then the handrail, again, we would replace that in kind, but I'd want some input about what you would like to see for a color. Maybe it's one color for all these items, maybe it's different colors. The substructure, we're reusing the abutments. They're in good shape. We're going to widen them a little bit because of the widening of the bridge. And we're including pilasters, which I should point out I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but the 4 pilasters, one at each corner of the bridge for aesthetic purposes, mainly. The wing walls are concrete. They look like they're stone, but what we do is we replace them with stone veneer, both the wing walls and the abutments, to make for a fitting appearance for the wild and scenic river. So now we have the proposed bridge rail, which we talked about, I think, in the last meeting, and I just wanted to make sure that you're fine with this. In the lower left corner, and you see the picture, there's some T101 rail. Originally, we had proposed using some timber rail. However, that was about 3 times as expensive as the T101 bridge rail, which is very common. T101's often used in New Hampshire for town projects. So we felt like that was a good way to go. It looks very close in appearance to the picture on the right that shows the brown guardrail. It's still just a little stronger, a little bulkier, and handles, it's crash tested, so it handles keeping the vehicles on the road. The reason why I showed these two too is, you can see maybe the brown railing would look nice in a rustic environment like a Jackson Falls, or maybe the galvanized appearance of the rail would probably blend in more with a bare concrete deck. The silver and the gray kind of would mesh together, and it would direct people's attention elsewhere, maybe to the falls or the stone veneer or other things. Or maybe like a different color entirely, like black. And then, like I said, is there a theme to the colors? Is that what you would be looking for, as one color or several? The rehabilitation, again, this is nothing new. It's still a closure. It's a 1.25 mile detour. There will be no parking provided for this project as a result of the guardrail that's on the approaches, specifically the south side of the bridge. That provides a safe access, a little sidewalk to the approach sidewalk to the actual sidewalk that's on the bridge. There will be some tree removal. There are several trees, some large trees actually. They're right near the edge of pavement on Valley Cross Road that we can't really, it'd be difficult to avoid removing them. If there's any if there's any issue for that, definitely let me know. But one of the trees is so close to the roadway that it's used as a signpost. There's a sign actually mounted right on the tree. But anyway. Also, there's some trees down by the new wing walls that would have to be removed for construction. There's no drainage structure that needs to be maintained by the town. There would be an open swale on the northwest corner of the bridge. There would be a need for the town to pursue permanent easements for the new wing walls. They're basically where the old wing walls were for the most part, pretty close. It's just that to do the construction, the town would need easements because at least on the north of the bridge, that's not town owned. And environmental permitting is ongoing. We had a nice meeting with Natural Resources back on the 16th of last month, and they gave us some good guidance. One interesting things that came out of that was there's a lot of rare blueberries naturally growing around the bridge, which I guess they thrive on where there's a lot of ledge outcrop. So they must be loving that location. And the trust mitigation is ongoing. That's more of an FYI. It's not your problem, but there's a chance that there's a potential chance to keep them in town. Where I think it was maybe Jackson Ski might have some interest in them, so I'm trying to pursue that as well. And now the estimate slide. The good news is the state is participating in 80% of everything presented, including the curved sidewalk, the stone veneer, the pilasters. The less than good news is that when I talked to Julie last, I promised her that I would give her an updated estimate. And the current environment, I guess, for bids in New Hampshire and elsewhere are high. The actual estimate went from 962,000 as early as February 2020, early this year, up to over $1 million, 1.14 as of this week. So why is this happening? Why do the costs keep going up for construction? Well, contractors are not hungry for work. There's a lot of work out there. What they'll do sometimes is if there is a lot of work, they'll bid high on a project. If they get it, great, they'll make money. If they don't, well, there's other projects that they can actually pursue. So it's really been a contractor's market for a while, and it just keeps going up. Hoping that there'll be correction soon. It usually oscillates between the two, kind of like buyers and sellers market in real estate. I wanted to point out that the steel and concrete prices are particular large items. They're kind of more expensive, and there's a lot of material. Those increased this year. I know that one concrete item increased 50% just in those, 8 months. And another structural steel increased 30% in just those 8 months. That's essentially what's driving the price up. And what we do is we look at the New Hampshire DOT weighted bid prices. So they have all these different projects that have the similar items, different materials. And we look at what those costs were for that. And also they have bid prices, actually the bids for specific projects from specific contractors, and you can look at those costs, and you can see that the contractors are just bidding high amounts on everything right now.
Steve,
But
can
I
I
will,
for a second? How do you come up with the estimate if you had a lot of unknowns during the previous 7, 8 pages? Are they-
right, so what we do is we've actually laid out the geometry for the wing walls and the abutments and everything, and we take the big items like concrete, steel, reinforcing steel, and we take a select amount of them that will really control. It'd be probably 80 to 85% of the cost of the entire project. And this highway kind of does something similar. So we take these items and we calculate those. And then what we do is we add on a contingency, which is about 15%. And that covers stuff like that we don't get into the smaller details, like maybe bearings or bridge bearings, or maybe the handrail, things like that, that we know we'll get into that more. We know more in final design, but we have a pretty good idea, a pretty good feel for what we need for those bigger items right now. We do a little design early on to see how big the steel beams need to be, for instance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And the next thing is a possible material shortage. I know I have 2 projects under construction right now. One of them, at least one of them has, the contractors mentioned to me that there's a shortage of lumber. So that stuff like that can actually drive up the price. For a while there was a bit of a shortage of steel that was driving up prices before that. And then the last thing I was going to point out is back in 2009, New Hampshire DOT gave us an estimate, or gave the town an estimate of $600,000. And then we had in previous meetings, we had calculated out a projected cost into the future based on 5% inflation per year. So when I calculated this out, $600,000, 5% inflation per year for 2021, and it actually came up to over $1 million. So really, it's a little concerning that the prices keep going up. It's still not that much higher. It's within, I think, about 5.5% higher than what we're coming up with for an estimate at this point. So actually, I should say our estimate's 5.5% higher than what the projected or based on inflation per year would be. If that makes sense, I can go over that more if you'd like. But with that, I will take any questions and feedback on whatever you have.
Yeah, I have one question on the stone veneer.
Yep.
If you take that out, what kind of a savings would it be?
$75,000.
$75,000.
Yeah, that's we estimated about $75,000. The state has agreed to pay 80% of that, so the savings for the town would be $15,000.
Up to 80,000 if you wait much longer. And then how do we know that the construction firm, the consultant, or whatever we have to get now, is going to honor any of the estimates that you've come up with?
The construction company honored our estimates. Well, they'll see the estimate. Well, what happens is if they actually see the estimates, not the cost, but just the estimates in the bid package, if they see something that they don't agree with, they should ask the question on it. But contractors they'll play games sometimes. I've seen them do dollar bids on some items where they feel like they're, like maybe for rock obstructions, they might feel like they're not going to have to run into that, and they'll just bid $1 on that one item so that they helps them win the job. Actually, and that's starting to be frowned upon from DOTs more and more now. But yeah, basically, they will use our estimate. They'll come up with maybe some of their own estimates, and they figure out their own cost for each of those items based on our estimate. If they come up with something significantly different, they should ask the question during the bid process.
So if there are no other questions, is there anything else that you're waiting on from the select board?
No, I mean, I would like to see if there's a specific color that the board would like. I'm not really looking for approval, more information, and I just want to make sure that everyone's fine with what we're doing before we proceed. So that's all I'm looking for. It doesn't even have to be today, but if you could, maybe working through Julie and Burr Phillips, I can get maybe some opinions on that. You know, if you think that the brown would look nice, or if you like galvanized. Those are things that we'll be looking to by the end of the year, hopefully when we finish this, to put in the specifications so the contractor knows when they go to bid it that it has to be galvanized steel, or it has to be brown painted steel, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, if you could work through Julie with the questions and specifics that you need, and then we can rally our opinions.
Okay. Great. So there are no other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And everyone stay well.
You as well. Right.
Gene,
I just feel we're hung out dry.
On the bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, okay, if we look back to we started talking 2009, it's almost doubled the cost. Back then it was what, 600,000, now it's almost $1.2 million.
doubles every 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if this thing could get off the road, it could be another 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
We build it ourselves.
And this idea that we have to find another engineering
Construction
construction
company.
company. It's just
It's
mind-boggling to
yeah.
me that why at this point, where we have a whole bunch of numbers, we've got somebody new coming in who might say, oh, no, they forgot the rivets or the paint, or, it'll be, another $300,000 for that.
Well, my concern also is what construction firm we're going to find that even has the time and the, I mean, how many?
Do we find this other company, or is?
I think it has to go through the whole bidding process again.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we have to do then, in order to get our bridge. John, will you be on that committee?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh.
And then we have an easy one, an extended liquor license for Whitney's, which has already taken place and we've already signed it, so it's really just for our information. And I have your signatures in them, so there it is. You've done that. Cemetery agreement. Andrew Howe in the Dundee Cemetery. Do we have to vote to accept that? Okay, then I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the cemetery lot agreement for Mr. Howe.
Andrew Howe.
Andrew Howe, thank you.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Andrew. Welcome to Dundee.
Not too soon.
No,
Too soon.
take your time. I mean,
My age for crying out loud.
yeah, nothing to rush into. Okay, extended liquor license.
Wow.
Mount Corporation doing business as Red Fox Bar and Grill at 49 Route 16 to sell bottled wine in their newly created Red Fox Market, which is attached to the restaurant. These sales are for purchase at the market and will not be for consumption on site.
It's very nice in there. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, yeah. I will make a motion to approve the extended liquor license request for the Red Fox Bar and Grill.
I will second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Then I'm gonna pass this along for signatures.
you got it.
Oh, we're moving ahead now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that bridge is going up as we talk.
And
I have a letter from Jerry Doherty III. Should I read the whole letter or should I paraphrase?
whatever you want, and also Jerry is also on
Oh,
the
well,
phone, so.
let's have him speak to it.
Hi, Jerry.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, guys and girls.
Couldn't stick around, you had to go home?
No, this is Jerry.
Oh, the other Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. They sound alike.
So Jerry, do you want to bring up what you're proposing here?
Okay, have the three of you had an opportunity to read the letter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions at all about it? Or,
I don't have a question about the letter specifically. I have a question about whether you're asking us to petition this warrant, or if it's something that you are going to present and get signatures to be on.
I was hoping that the selectmen would offer it as a warrant. And I can, I guess I can answer questions as to what your thinking is on it.
John?
I've researched any RSAs that may be involved and wasn't able to find any. I also researched when we changed the name from Adams to Jackson and wasn't able to find describe how that occurred. But obviously it did occur. And I'm just suggesting that instead of Andrew, that we do it to CT. That Mount Jackson is in the White Mountains. It's flanked by, on the north by Mount Pierce and to the southwest by Mount Webster. And it was, as you can tell from my letter, when the name was given to Mount Jackson for Charles Thomas Jackson. And I'm suggesting that the town adopt that name, Charles Thomas Jackson, in place of Andrew Jackson. And I was hoping that the selectmen would, I think it's appropriate to have it on the warrant and let the townspeople vote on it, as opposed to the selectmen doing it on their own. And I was hoping that the selectmen would have a warrant on the offer to the town to vote on, and that you would support it.
Well, I think it's an avenue for an ongoing discussion of the ingrained racism that has permeated the country for a long time, and I'd be for it. I'm happy to submit it as an warrant article to be voted on by the town, but if nothing else, I think it helps create the dialogue. So whatever happens, I think it's a good thing.
Yes, if the selectmen choose to make it a warrant article, I'd be happy to speak to that article at the town meeting. I copied the letter to the members of the planning board, and they commented. I didn't hear any opposition, but they didn't in any way as a board take a position. And I was hoping that if the warrant article did appear, that the board would take a position, the planning board would take a position supporting it. But as yet they haven't, but when I copied the letter to them, my wife Kathleen, who is a planning board member, spoke about it, and there was some support individually, and there was no opposition spoken anyway. But that would be for the planning board to decide. But again, I was hoping that the selectmen would think it would be appropriate for them to sponsor or to put on the warrant the article.
Okay, would you like to take a vote on that at this time to add it to the warrant for next March? You can add it at any time. You want to think about it, whether we do it or if it has to go through the process of signatures.
I'm not opposed to it or anything like that. I maybe give it some time for some of the, townspeople to think about it a little bit. And if they have any comments one way or the other, they can supply them to us and we can consider them, in our meeting somewhere in the future. I mean, obviously it's not something we have to vote on today. We have plenty of time to do it.
Okay.
I'd like to see hear what other people, think
I'm comfortable
about it.
John, would you think it was appropriate for the selectmen to, I mean, if you're trying to have some input from others, I guess the appropriate place for that would be at the town meeting, but unless you wanted to possibly hold a public hearing on it to get an idea of what the folks in town think about it prior to it being an article, a warrant article.
We have to have a public meeting eventually before we, vote on all those articles anyways, and that will be sometime in February, right?
Well, January.
January, February. So obviously it's October now, so, I don't have a problem, discussing it next week, next month, whatever. I just don't think there's any rush to vote on it today.
So
Without, maybe, like I said, there might be some point that hasn't been vested,
Right.
and maybe
we
it's
may get a lot of pushback from the community that will affect us.
So here's my recommendation, if it sounds feasible. Jerry, since we're running long on the agenda today, I really would like to read your letter into the minutes, maybe at the next meeting, and then we can see what kind of feedback we get from that, and then we'll be able to maybe go at the next meeting to put it on a warrant article. Does that sound feasible?
The letter will just be added as an appendix,
Oh, okay, so we can add the letter as an appendix.
Yeah, that was on it. You don't need to read the letter in order to have it put into the minutes.
Yep, so we'll add that to the minutes and ask for public comment, and then we can put it on the agenda for our next meeting. That sound good, guys?
Yes, ma'am. That's the way we're going to do it.
All right, Jerry, does that sound good?
It sounds very good, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, now we're on to another discussion, the transfer station stickers or book of chips or whatever for short-term rental operators to provide with their guests so that they may use the transfer station appropriately. Hopefully have, and I thought the chip would be turned in so that whoever was up there could then say, okay, now we have, someone who may not be familiar with our process, and they can kind of guide them through it. So we've got a quote for books of chips. I guess they would come in staple books of 10. Looks to me like a very doable solution to what is really a problem up there.
I agree. I love the idea of the coupon books for anyone that is not a permanent resident. I think we had a good meeting with the transfer station committee as far as the Bartlett Selectmen and us a couple weeks ago. I do, like I said, I like the option of having the short-term renters having a different sticker or chip, as you call it, to send in, because that will distinguish them. But I think we still have some other obstacles to talk about as far as if someone is a long-term renter, do they get the sticker that goes with the property? And there's still some kinks to work out. So I do think we are moving forward in the right direction. I think that it would be worthy to still continue refining this, but I don't know if we need to put off ordering coupon books and knowing those are going to be part of the new process. I guess I look at, are we color coordinating them? Are they black and white? Are we going to have expiration dates? And we were talking a little bit before the meeting. I was with the Julies about expiration dates on all of our transfer station stickers moving forward. So we're getting into a bigger conversation, but I think that we're making a lot of progress to get things more organized there.
Maybe Julie and myself and you could draft up a proposal to be discussed at the next meeting as to, some solutions to some of these questions.
Yeah, because we were talking about certain things that Conway does successfully and how they deal with that. And John, obviously with your input too, since you have a lot of experience with the problems up there too. So if that's okay to keep this moving forward, but maybe not make a decision tonight.
John?
Yeah, just in terms of long-term renters, I mean, if they're long-term renters, they can get a sticker.
Because
they have to register the car, they're residents of Jackson. That's not really an
Right.
issue. It's just the short-termers and the people who are loaning their house to families and friends, and they want multiple
Yeah.
stickers. And I think, we have to be careful about, and I've kind of let the cat out of the bag with multiple stickers for other people. And I think that's one of the problems. I think this would be a nice solution for it.
Yep.
You buy a pack, your friends come up, they can have a sticker, go to the dump, they need to, and we'll help them out if they need help. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of issues, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm not opposed to doing an initial order of the coupon books, so we have them on hand when we put some procedures in place, because I have a good feeling that that's what we're going to end up doing in one iteration or another. So if we have those on board and we know we can start, saying, good, here's a new short-term rental application. With this, you need to buy your transfer station stickers, and let's sort of do it on a trial run and see how it works out.
The only thing I'm worried about is pushback from Bartlett and something to the verbiage that, our guys are doing Bartlett, they're Bartlett employees, they shouldn't be doing Jackson stuff. That's, collecting stickers for Jackson is not part of the privy. That's why I can hear that pushback.
Yeah, they're sort of Bartlett employees, they're our employees.
Right. But
They're the
Yeah.
transfer station employees, so there is, we do have some input into
Right.
what we ask these people to do. And, I want to get along with Bartlett, but I want to make this a workable situation.
One other thing to think about is once we do get this policy in place, how are people going to transition to this? Because that will require our office to distribute, and there has to be some sort of a timing, because we can't say, okay, you have to do this next week, and people haven't gotten the books and.
Right, how to roll it out. Yeah, how to roll it out and make it effective and what dates. And, like we said, we were talking about using car expiration dates for your car registration as your transfer station. So maybe as that comes up over the next 12 months, we impose it that way. But, these are things that we have to be devil's advocate on and
Yeah.
think of all the scenarios before we write the policy and move forward. But I agree with you. It's nice to have both parties on board, Bartlett and Jackson. I think that Bartlett would probably applaud us having some procedures, because it doesn't sound like they have a lot of written procedures, nor do they track their short-term renters. So they, may be able to piggyback off of what we do down the road.
Yeah, I think
Let's be
they're ready
pioneers.
to make it run smoothly also. I don't think we're gonna get a whole lot of pushback.
If we get more educated recyclers and trash goers, that would be our goal. So, all right, we will get together then, the three of us.
And then the next thing to discuss is the highway department. The warranty on the new truck, whether we participate, I think it was, what, $5,000 for 7 years, 5,175.
And it's for an emissions warranty for the new vehicle.
And it did include the emissions. I asked Pat to send you.
Right. I think it sounds like a good idea to.
It did
spend that.
to me too. I'm not a fan of.
Right. Extended warranties.
You know, every time you buy a new vehicle, you have to go talk to the sales manager who tries to sell you all the stain remover and, you know.
Undercoating.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, but this seemed to make sense, because Pat said, you know, the one big thing that they can't do is the emission.
Right. The other thing that was attractive is that it still, with this expenditure, Pat still has money in the budget for it. So it doesn't make us go over budget or anything. So that's always big in my.
Well, I was very encouraged when Pat told me that his budget would handle this,
Right.
and that he's really helped along. So I think that's good. Should we vote to go ahead and?
We have to vote on that?
Extended warranty?
And the money.
I'll make a motion to approve the expense for the truck emissions warranty.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You might need to state your names, since not everyone can see.
Aye, Barbara.
Aye, John. We hadn't done it all night.
I know. She told me about it earlier, but I ignored her.
The right of way at Vista Way is pending. I think the other side of the road, what was
Not
the?
sure on this one, Julie.
No, this is still pending.
We haven't heard back from them, from, John Bergeron.
Okay,
I'm not.
right, that, I wanted to, you know, clear up the whole thing rather than just one side of the road, so hopefully we'll hear from them. Okay, now we have our short-term rentals. Every meeting, we will deal with short-term rentals, applications for approval. Kudrick is pending, he has no applications in. I don't know why, I guess he's gonna fight it.
And we did advise him that he needed to file them. We sent him the certified letters and we still heard nothing.
Let's fight everything, so. Anyway, I don't know what the fight is. He's operating a business in the rural residential area, so as far as I'm concerned, he should go with the program.
What's the next step, obviously? We sent them for certified mail and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he's getting fined.
I believe that, was there a certain time he had to respond to the certified letters before we took step 2?
30 days.
Yeah. So we're still in that 30-day period.
Well, this is the second letter going out, it'll be certified mail tomorrow.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait, yeah. There's lots of B in there.
We have
Yeah.
Complaints, written complaints from,
We have two new permits first, though?
We don't have any this time because we didn't
think
receive
we
some
have any.
comment
Okay.
pages
I
on them,
haven't had
so.
time to
Right.
vet the applications that came up from the planning board, because we pretty much have to do all that homework ourselves.
Okay.
And that might be something to talk about now, whether we should get somebody in for 4 hours a week, 4 hours to 8 hours a week, to just review, because right now we have the influx of all the people that are operating that want to get their permits in. That's the good part, the ones that
Yeah,
want to get the
comply.
permits in. But should we have, I mean, do you think there's money available for somebody on a really limited basis that could come down and just research some of this?
I think the whole thing, and Julie can speak to it, but I think right now it's gonna be more time consuming for us to teach someone else how to go about what needs to be done.
Yes.
And then depending on what proposed changes there are, we can revisit that in February prior, because the planning board or zoning changes would need to be submitted, December-ish, November, December-ish, and then we'll have an idea of what's changing, and then we can have an idea of if we need to look at this differently.
Okay.
I do agree, yeah.
But in that process, then keep track of the amount of hours that you are spending on short-term rental applications and research, et cetera, just.
Well, I mean, it depends on if we're gonna look at the whole thing. Are we looking at
Well,
just the applications or the warning letters, the
Everything,
notification of
everything.
approval
I
letters?
mean, you have to look at
It is
everything.
gonna be
encompassed.
somewhat ongoing,
Yeah.
because, the short-term rentals aren't gonna go away.
Right, I think it just makes sense to find out what changes may be coming up prior to coming up with how we want to handle it.
Right.
Next year.
Yes.
I think it would have been good for the town to spend some money to hire someone to do an inventory of all the
Yeah.
short-term rentals. That comes with that.
Yeah.
And we do have an upcoming short-term rental committee meeting for the committee that was just formed Friday, so I'll be on that call.
And maybe that can, maybe we should for next year hire a company to do that.
Right.
Who knows?
Are the short-term rentals charged a fee for the application?
$50.
$50?
For the application fee.
All right.
Okay, so we have one complaint on a, complaint is attached, but it's advertising of rooms and guests and parking.
And I do have Victor Allen on the phone who filed the complaint, if he wants to speak.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Victor Allen, and I live at 84 Thornhill Road, and I'm a butter of 62 Thornhill Road, the short-term rental. And it's been a nightmare since they've started renting that out. And they advertise 6 bedrooms, and there's usually like between 15 and 20 people there. And I do have the letter from Kevin Canary.
The one that I did in your email, just read to you prior to the meeting.
Okay.
He's from the
In front of us, though.
hello?
Yes, we have it. We have read it. We don't have it in front of us, but we have read it.
Yeah, I mean, just for an example, this past weekend, they can rent to 10 people, 4 per bed, 2 per bedroom plus 2. I believe that's the ordinance. And I went down and talked to the guy that was renting it, and he said there was 25 people renting it this past weekend, and they brought a blow-up mattress so everybody could have a bed. I mean, that's been going on since they've been renting it. And the other thing is, they have a outdoor hot tub, And there's a hot outdoor, there's a fire pit near my boundary line. And they have loud parties there, drinking parties. And it goes into the night, and it's like our quality of life has gone downhill, and the value of our property, nobody's gonna wanna buy a house term rental. And anything you can do to help us out would be appreciated.
Do we know the owner of that property? Okay.
Yeah, when they first submitted their application, they were denied because of what they were advertising. And I communicated with them via email to change the advertisement. And they said that they did. I noticed that they changed the rooms and the guests, but if you read further into the advertisement, it lists more bedrooms,
There's
so,
still-
yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, that a change can be a snapshot and then you can just change it back again too. So, and this is the first complaint, but there have been 2 complaints on this property at this as of this meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll be notifying them again, I guess, since we know.
Well, now that we have a process,
Notificating with, no,
we should
notifying them
send out
first.
first
Right.
for them.
So thank you, Victor. We'll be following step 1 for the complaint
Yeah.
process.
Okay, could I just add that, there's reviews on their webpage with plenty of information where they have 6 bedrooms and they sleep, between 15 and 20 people.
And what website is that on, Airbnb or is it VRBO? Do you know?
That's hard of it.
Huh?
It's hard.
It's VRBO.
VRBO, okay.
I can give you the number if you want.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, it's VRBO, and the number is 4505-478-HA.
Okay, thank you for that.
Unless they deleted the reviews, I don't know, but they were there.
Okay.
And like, where would I get any information on where my complaints go, or?
We have a process, a 3-part or 3-step process for complaints. So once we receive the first complaint, we notify the owner of the property that a complaint has been filed, and then we tell them what the complaint is. Obviously, when it's advertising too much, too many guests, which this is technically their first complaint that we'll be sending them, but it's actually the second communication about this because we originally denied their application for the same reason. So this will be the first formal complaint against them.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too, is before they resubmitted and you approved, I had submitted my complaint about that, but it still got approved.
Yeah, it's a process that we're refining. I mean,
Okay.
they proved that they had changed it, but again, it's sort of a snapshot where they can change it back, and so.
Well, it was approved because they said they were going to alter their advertising.
Right.
They did.
And they did, and then they changed it back again probably, so,
Well, actually, they didn't change it back. It's, if you go to view more in the website, they describe all the bedrooms and how many it sleeps,
Yeah.
which is 6 bedrooms and 20 people.
So again, I'm, like I said, we formed the short-term rental committee where we're trying to refine this process, make it better, make it more effective, and change, for in March when we come out with what we're gonna call version 2 of our conditional use permit. Figure out how to try to make this a more tight process and hold people more accountable.
Okay, I appreciate it. I thank you.
One thing I would suggest is if you, especially with the partying, late partying, get a video of it, so that way we, have a record of it, and that goes a long ways in terms of proof.
Well, I did have a question on that. On your complaint form, it says that, do audio, video, or pictures. And I
Right.
didn't know if that was all legal, that if you can take pictures of someone on their own property or audio of someone on their own private property?
Well, again, if you're on your property, you can, yeah, you can do whatever you want on your property, I would imagine, but
If they're outside too, I mean, I
Yeah, I'm
don't
talking
know
about-
if you're taking pictures of them inside their home, I think that might be different.
yeah,
but if
not
you're-
inside the home, but, you know, if
Right.
they're in a hot tub and out by the fire pit and there's, you know,
Yeah.
3:30 in the morning, that's something you could just play the audio on.
Yeah. Yeah, and Victor, also, since there is a ban on fire pits and outdoor fires, then certainly you should reach out to the authorities by calling the police if they are having fires in the fire pit. Or if there are any other things that are against the law, that noise ordinance time past 10 o'clock, I believe, 10:30. So, and if you have questions on what those laws are, reach out to Chief Burley or his team. And certainly that would, you know, you can ask them to drive up to your house and
Listen.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Victor.
Okay, our second complaint is on 37 Adams Road, George and Maria Pappas. It's a transfer station sticker on plastic problem. I think we're gonna try to straighten this out. I don't know what to tell the people at the present time. What do we tell them? They're sending people up. I think we should tell them the owner has to, you know, take care of the garbage and not send their clients up to the transfer station, but.
Until we change the policy, that's the
Right.
way it's written.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what we're in the process of,
Right,
obviously.
so we're trying to make that better, but for the time being, they are responsible for the trash themselves.
Right. And I think, you know, when they sign the conditional use permit, the owners are signing that they are abiding by all of the laws and ordinances of the town of Jackson, and we do have a requirement to recycle. So the complaint is that they're not abiding by the ordinance of Jackson for obeying the trash laws. So, you know, I think a complaint letter is sent on that, and strike one. And like you
Do we
said,
have a policy for, you know, removing stickers? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
is that written anywhere? That's the thing. That was one of the things I think we need to, just like the
I think we're gonna
SDRs.
keep
Right.
moving ahead on the ideas.
yeah,
So our last one is a complaint. I guess it was 46 Alpine Drive from an anonymous, which we in the future will not deal with because I'm sorry, anonymous is not going to make it. But it's about a couple who are actually their permit application is in. The complaint was about them operating without a permit. And their permit, I know their permit is in, it's just this lag time between when it goes to the planning board, comes back to us, and then we get to. So anyway, I think that one we can set aside. It's going to be, I think it's going to be approved.
I don't think that permit's in.
No,
I think that's a
different situation.
yeah, we haven't received an application for 46 Alpine Drive, I don't think.
You don't think we have one?
No, from DeFusco, no.
Yeah. I think it's.
Frank DeFusco, he did.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's a
Frank,
different one.
Frank was up on title.
Yeah, Frank.
Oh, this is a
It's a different, Frank was
one,
with
yeah.
this, but this one is
Oh,
not.
my mistake.
Okay, so we will, okay,
That is
so,
my mistake. Yes, then these people should get a letter that they're operating in the rural residential district, running a business which is non-conforming. That will be their first complaint, even if they come in with an application. They're on record as
right,
one strike.
Right. Add that to the spreadsheet.
All right, page 2.
These are FYIs.
Those are all FYIs.
Woo-hoo.
All right.
Yeah, we don't need to read these
Okay,
all.
building permits have been approved by our building inspector. Jefferson, 5 Fernal Drive, demolished the farmhouse that is good. Healy stabilized and renovated cabin. Shara, Black Mountain, LeBlanc, 8 Norton Drive, interior walls, basement. 32 Middle Mountain Road, add a dormer. 131 Whitney Hill. Enclosed part of the farmer's porch to create a mudroom. All approved by our building inspector. Driveway permit for Thomas on Retreat Way. I haven't heard any reason not to. Do I have that to sign? Or has that been?
You already signed it.
Okay, that's been signed, okay.
Oh, that's been approved.
I remember it.
It's just an FYI.
So that one is just to let us know, let everybody know. So the upcoming meetings are Tuesday, October 27th, 4 p.m. via Zoom. Tuesday, November 10th at 4 p.m. via Zoom.
That will be after the election, Tuesday after the election.
Yeah, we'll know a lot more then.
Awesome.
Julie, have I forgotten anything?
I don't think so.
I did everything on my sheet.
I believe so.
I've made a mess of your nice.
Sorry.
Job security.
Do we need to go into a non-public then? Yes,
All right.
We do?
we do.
All right.
All right, I am going to stop recording and sign off for the non-public meeting. So thank you all for attending, and I will talk to you all later. Thank you. Thank you, Bill and Joyce and Lycan and Bill's wife, who I'm not sure I know. Sorry.
I make a motion to go into non-public. Let's see what we got here. Do we have a 91?